I'm super excited. This episode is a little personal to me. My mom, actually.
And so she said, Dee Dee, what do you want to be? And I said, a hairstylist. And she said, you won't be able to do that. And I said, I won't? What do you mean I won't be able to do that?
As a cosmetologist, created your own business and put 2 kids through college through that pathway.
My mom would say, look up at me. And I look up at her. And she said, and don't you believe anything them doctors tell you. You can do anything you want to do.
You are listening to the Global CTE Podcast with your host, Sylvester Chisholm.
Welcome, my friend, to another episode of the Global CTE Podcast. I am your host, Sylvester Chisholm. This is the place where I interview the best, the brightest, the movers, the shakers, the innovators who are really moving CTE into the future and helping to prepare our students for success in the global marketplace. Today is no different. I'm super excited. This episode is a little personal to me. I actually have one of my favorite, wisest, trailblazing CTE professionals on, my mom, actually. Yes, my mom, Darlene Gibson, is here with us. So let's work through this bio as I read it. I'll try not to say mom, but yes, it's mom. Okay, here we go. Sounds so good. Let me tell you about my mom. So Darlene is the founder of Professional Touch Salon, a long-standing salon rooted in excellence, professionalism, and community impact. She's also the founder of the Show Me the Beauty, an online education platform empowering aspiring beauty professionals around the world. She travels globally as a backstage show manager and global creative artist for Farouk Systems, one of the largest hair care companies in the world. She helps produce some of the most prestigious and influential hair shows in the industry. What makes her story especially powerful and unique for this audience is that she has known what she wanted to do, her calling, since she was the age of 12 and has spent decades turning her skill, passion, and discipline into a sustainable career and legacy. Her entrepreneurial mindset has also shaped the next generation, including her children, myself, and my sister Chevalier, who are both university professors and entrepreneurs. Driven by purpose, excellence, and a deep commitment to empowering others through her work, Darlene continues to leave a lasting mark on the beauty industry and on the lives of those she mentors around the world. Welcome to the show, Mom.
Yes, thank you, son. Wow, that was absolutely beautiful. And then to just see you interviewing me, I'm sitting on the other side and you on that side. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to have you. I know you listen to the show, and I know there have been a lot of mentions and references to you on the podcast as it relates to CTE. I always highlight how you as a CTE professional, career tech education, as a cosmetologist, created your own business and put 2 kids through college through that pathway. And I think
that's right.
It's stories like yours where I feel like there's so much wisdom to unlock, as well as how we think about shifting the narrative of a person like yourself should be celebrated as the outcomes that we're looking for. Ultimately, like when we point to the pathways, it's like, oh no, look at this person. Look at what she did through cosmetology school, through a CTE pathway, turned that into entrepreneurship, created wealth for herself, for her family, put her kids through college through that career that is a strong CTE pathway. So I thought for our audience,
yes,
this would be a great episode. So here we are, Mom.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited to be here to share. And who knows, you may have to have part 1, 2, 3, because it's a lot to pack in here. It's a lot. It's historical. Okay,
I like it. So let's start with what's your origin story? This is a question I like to ask everyone who comes on the show. What's your origin story? How'd you get here?
So my origin story, as a little girl, as you said, at 12, I always had a passion for hair. I love looking. I love feeling the texture. And I started actually with corn rolling hair. But even before then, if I really go back, I had to have surgery on my leg as a little girl at 11 years old. And my uncle bought me some curling irons. It was called Easy Curl, electric curlers. So actually, I would line up the girls in the neighborhood, my best friends, and curl their hair and style it. I did like bouffant looks like Diana Ross was in. So I took their ponytails out and I gave them hairstyle. So when they went home, their parents was like, "What are you doing? Who did this to you?" So I said, "You tell Dee Dee," they called me Dee Dee then, "to stay out of your head." But every Thursday, because I was a leader, they disobeyed their parents and they still came to me on Thursdays for this hairdo. This book I picked out called Black Hair. And it would be hairstyles. And I would try to achieve those hairstyles on these girls. That's how I really started. And then I went into learning how to cornrow, underhand braiding. My neighbor next door, she taught me. Betty Smith, my best friend then, she taught me how to braid. So what I did from there is took designs and I made designs. I started watching people hair. I started watching stop signs and how the shapes, and I started watching trees and angular things, and I started to create and had a clientele. I grew a clientele at 12 years old. Family, friends, they would drive over. My mom wouldn't let everybody in her home. Oh, no. So I had to do her on the porch. And then I felt exposed. I didn't have that privacy. So the big bus would be riding down the street and people start asking, can this little girl, 12, 13, do hair? And I started saving all my money. I put it under the rug and I started saving it. And I brought my back to school clothes.
Oh, wow.
So
from working.
Yes.
So from working as a 12-year-old, braiding hair on the front stoop, you made enough money to buy your own back to school clothes.
Back to school clothes. And back then they used to have layaway. So I put it in layaway and paid on it on my layaway. And I was set. I had my little turtlenecks. I even liked turtlenecks back then. I had my turtlenecks, my really cool pants, and I had my hairstyle and I was set, and it was all from braiding. And I knew I had something. When one of my favorite uncles, Uncle Mike Torrin, said, "I need you to come over and braid my hair." And he picked me up and he had 3 clients waiting on me.
What kind of car did he pick you up in?
A very nice car, very nice car, very nice car. He had been to the military and everything, and he liked the Isley Brothers. I think that's why I like the Isley Brothers today. And he had a big reel where the music would be on the reel, like 4 or 5 hours on the reel. And he would be playing that music, and I'd be braiding in his kitchen, and I'd be braiding in the next. And they sat around the table eating steak and shake. And back then it was pretty big to get steak and shake, and they be eating and I be braiding. And then one day it was like 1:30. My mom called and said, "Where is my daughter? Where is Dee Dee? She needs to come home."
1:30 p.m.
Yeah. I was braiding. I was in the zone. He had the music going. That's why I like the Isley Brother, because I was in the zone. And I was braiding, and they was eating, and they was talking stuff. And I'm in grown folks listening and learning about life. And my mom called, and that's when I knew I had something. She said, "Where is my daughter? It's 1:30 in the morning." And I said, I'll do you next Friday. And from there, I started building. The business just started building because it just did. And I mean, I had big money, for a kid.
Okay. So Uncle Mike Torian picks you up. You go to his house and you're braiding his hair and his friend's hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he even had me braid his mustache. I braided everything. All these designs, circles and ovals and
really.
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah.
So when you would leave you leave his house at 1:30 in the morning at 12 years old. How much money did you make?
A lot. So much. A lot. More than, I don't know, big money back then. You had $50. he would give me like a 50 and somebody else was 40. That was good money for a kid, and I would put that money, count it, put it under the rug close to where I slept. I hide it. And that's how it started.
I appreciate two things from that story. One, just the clarity. I've always admired that about you, like the clarity of knowing what it is that you wanted to do. Like having that purpose to your life, like finding yourself in the work. You found that early, and I'm just curious. So I know that was like the aha moment, like, okay, I really have something, but I don't know, did you see or feel anything at that age that helped give you that clarity that like, no, this is who I am. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Yes, I was just sure. I just knew. And so one day we were at the families back then. It wasn't all the TVs and the dish. You may have one TV or whatever. People actually sat around and talked. So the grown-ups would be in the kitchen and the kids would be maybe in the living room. And they would always ask the kids, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be and who? And a lot of teachers, a lot of people would say teachers. A lot of kids would say teacher, and I want to be a doctor. And they asked me, so what do you want to do? And I said, I know what I want to do. I want to do hair. I want to be a hairstylist. And I never forget this day. I remember it was so clear. I was sitting on the sofa, and this lady I really admired because her hair was always really pretty. Back then, they used to call it good hair, but really, I learned it's no good hair. Her hair was pretty, and it was curly, and it was straight, and she would have curls in it, and it would just wave, and it was pretty. So I just really admire her, how she dressed, her and her husband. And so she said, Edie, what do you want to be? And I said, a hairstylist. And she said, you won't be able to do that. And I said, I won't? What do you mean I won't be able to do that? And I always was a kid that somebody asked you something, I had an answer. May not been the best, but I would just speak from my heart. And I said, she said, you won't be able to do that. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, well, because you won't be able to stand on your legs like that because one of your legs is shorter and you won't have the strength. Just be a teacher. And oh my gosh, I sat there that evening. I never forget the house, the look. I was so disappointed and so hurt because I respect adults and I respected her and I loved her so much. And I looked at her differently after that. It never was the same because it's important to encourage children, whatever their dreams or whatever that's in them, you encourage them that you can do it. You can be better. So I guess, out of her love for me and concern, thinking, oh, that's not a safe direction for you to go. You won't be able to stand. But guess what? Over now it's 40-something years, 45 plus, that I stand behind the chair. A lot of the stylists now sit down. I never sat down except for when I was carrying you. My first child, I sat down for maybe a month, but it was hard. But, you must encourage children when they're young. You feed into them that you can do with positive things to keep them on track to do and to achieve. And even I don't want to jump ahead of you. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. So yeah.
No, no, it's fine. It's all about the conversation. I think I'm gonna stay there for a minute because I think it's something there to talk about. One, I think that's why exposure is so important because like what kids see, they want to be, right? So what you see, you want to be, and a lot of times the influences that, like, for her to suggest that you become a teacher is not a bad thing. It's a safe thing. And when people love you, they just want to keep you safe. That's, and they're only thinking through the lens of their exposure, exactly. So it's like, well, if their exposure is limited to what is possible, then their recommendations can only extend so far, as it relates to like, oh no, I want to keep this young girl safe. I just want to give her this guidance, but not knowing that like It's a lion inside of you that's like unstoppable.
Oh man!
But let's talk
even
about
my
that.
mom.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted to go there and ask you about, because you referenced it. You said you had the surgery, and that was because as a little girl you were born with polio, right? Is that right? You had polio, and so then you had some surgeries. And talk to me about that, and how maybe my grandmother instilled that confidence in you.
Yeah, so I had a slight case of polio, which meant one of my legs was shorter than the other. I had to wear special shoes, build up shoes to balance me out, which I hated because, I wanted to be trained. I wanted some bucks. I never did get those brown bucks, but I had to wear shoes, soft-soled shoes, so it can be built up, and then the surgery I had was to stop the growth of the one leg so the other leg could catch up. And it's a growing area for kids between 12, 13, something like that. So that's why the surgery was done. And my mom took me to children on Kings Highway. And back then we had one car. Dad had the car, so we would take the bus. But my mom and my dad, but my mom always told me that you can do anything you want to do. So when we would leave there from seeing the doctors and whatever, because I spent a lot of time there, them studying this. So when we go out to the Kings Highway to catch the bus, my mom always said to me, the doctor would say, well, these sort of things, she won't be able to drive. She won't be able to ride a bike. She won't be able to skate. And they would tell me everything that I couldn't do, right? So then by the time we get out to the street, within 2 minutes, my mom would say, look up at me. And I look up at her and she said, and don't you believe anything them doctors tell you. You can do anything you want to do. You can be who you want to be. You got to believe it. No matter what they say, you can do it. Do you understand me? And I look up and say, okay. And that's it. And that sealed it. So I believe that. And that's why it's important to pour into your kids and encourage your kids to be who they were called to be, what's in them. You can do it no matter what the odds are, no matter what it looks like. And the doctors and the brain don't connect to the one side of your leg. But yeah, I still go work out. I still stand, used to stand from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the evening, working 4 or 5 days like that, in those younger days, and just keep going and pushing. And maybe sometimes even pushing harder than I should have pushed. But because it was instilled in me as a child to do and to become more. And I always believe that. And that's what I put into you and your sister. But the entrepreneur part, I think, was always there because I was selling lemonade at 7 years old, lemonade stand. That's why every lemonade stand I see a kid, that's entrepreneur. I have to go buy it. I stop by it, even though I may not drink it, but I support the kid. So the entrepreneur, I sold cards. All occasion cards. I knocked on people's doors and say, can I clean your house? You need some help. What you need? And my mom would say, you stop bothering those neighbors. But I seen them as opportunities, as customers. They can be my customer. I can make some money from them. What you talk about, Mom? I order all these all occasion cards and sell it, whatever, lemonade. So then from that, I saw the vision with the braiding when I left my uncle's house at 1 something in the morning. I said, I got some. I finally got it.
Yeah.
And I investigated. I realized that in the 8th grade, you just need the 8th grade education to actually get your license. And I went and told Mom that. And she said, girl, you done lost your mind. No. That's not about to happen. You're going to high school. I said, Mom, but it says right here, this is what I need. now I can go to beauty school. She said, I don't think so. So that's why I ended up going to my first, I don't know.
Hold on. So
I went to Ohio. I went to a technical school.
Hold on. So you were trying to go pro out of the 8th grade?
Out of the 8th grade. I was ready to go. Yeah.
Okay, I'm curious because there's no internet at this time. You said you did the research. Where did you go where did you find this information?
Well, back then we used to have to go to the library.
Okay.
My mother required that. And we would go to the library, and then whatever you need to know is at the library. We didn't have all the internet, but we had the library, and our family, we walked to the library to get books, and whatever you need to look up, you can look it up in the library.
I tell that story. When you told me that, maybe it was recent.
It's recently, yeah,
like maybe a few years ago, and that just stuck with me. I just thought that's the most powerful thing. It's like, wow, you were like, no, this is who I am. I have found myself in the work. This is my career pathway. Let's get started on it right now. And I think that's so amazing to people search their whole lives for that type of clarity. And you and I talk about this all the time, that finding a career path that is in you, that is innate to who you are based on your passions, your interests, your skills, the things you're willing to persist, like where you find love and joy. To find that so early is such a unique thing that ends up just really creating happiness and joy throughout your life, which is what it's all about. And that's part of why I really wanted to have you on here, Mom, because you found that so early. And then I think it's interesting as you're telling the stories about your mom instilling that confidence and saying, don't listen to what the world tries to tell you. If it's in your heart, if you can believe and be who you want to be, and those limitations are the only limitations that exist are the ones that you buy in. I'm just curious. I want to stay there for a minute because I know is that the best piece of advice that you received from your mom, or what would you say is the best? What's the best piece of advice from grandma that still sticks with you to this day, that's helped guide you?
You are just as good as the next person, and trust God, no matter what people say. And even dealing with relationships, because your confidence got to keep being built. And I want to go back before I go about relationships.
Okay.
She said, I'm going to go ahead and say that. She said, if a person can't accept you for who you are and what you got to bring to the table, you move on. This is who you are. That's it. In relationships and dealing with men, women, anybody in business, you got to know and feel good about who you are. If they accept you, fine. If they don't, you move on. They're not for you. But one thing, the 8th grade, now my 2 sisters, the teachers loved them because they were so brilliant, and they loved them because they were just, they would do tests, different teachers. That's why they know all their teachers. To me, see, it's you got to find the kid's niche. That wasn't mine, oh man, it was so freaking boring. Every day, math, science. That wasn't how it's like, I just hated it. But I had to do it in order to pass on. But my other 2 sisters, they were honor students. Yeah. Oh, the teachers loved them. And they just loved them. Yeah. I didn't have a problem with it because I knew who I was. Yeah. I didn't feel intimidated or whatever. That was them. Okay, that's what they like. I don't like that. That doesn't bring me joy. That doesn't make my day. And my one sister would read books at night with a flashlight. And I'm like, who does that? Why? Yeah. But, mine was my hands, art, the gifts, entrepreneur, think about how I can make another dollar, make that dollar, make more dollars.
Yeah.
That's not enough dollars. So now I need to do something else, with the cards. I can do better with that. Okay, I can do better with this braid. Oh man, I can make that kind of money. And oh, this is it right here, and not that. So finding what's in there.
You know what's so funny with what you're saying is the conversation now that's centered around like those core things, math, science, English, writing, the things that are needed. But if you teach it in context of, cosmetology, because you do science, like I know one of your gifts is color formulation and stuff like that.
Yes,
it's like that is all a chemical experience. It's all a science thing. So like if there was the science class connected to that made it more relevant to a person like yourself, or the math, like what you're saying with the business connections, then it would have been a better experience, which is part of our conversation now as we think about the future of CTE, is like shifting that narrative to say like, how do we support this student here academically in the school day who has actually already uncovered what it is that she wants to do and who she wants to be, and how do we support that to help nurture that? And I know you and I talk a lot about that today, that like you like, man, I would have loved to take some of these classes today that exist or in some of these environments.
Yes. And then what you're saying is so true, son. The school I went to, ended up going to, I had to research myself. So I was so disappointed. In high school, they never had, I left guidance office lost. They didn't help me. But they used to have these yellow pages and white pages books where you couldn't go on the internet. So everything was in a phone book. So I went through the yellow pages and found a beauty school for me. And it was a pivot point school. So they did, pivot point means everything is done on a scientific approach. The head, the 360 degree, the angles, how you color, how you cut, how the hair gonna flow, the facial shape, square, circle, oval. So everything was on a scientific approach. But imagine, like you say, if they would have taught me the science part of that to make it make sense for me, like with the science, the breakdown of color, the breakdown of the head, the different degrees that you can cut, the different angles, your body position. If you have your body to the left, the hair gonna swing to the right, and making sure your angles or everything lines up. And that's what I still use today, the scientific approach.
Yeah, and that's all math, Mom. That's what I think is so funny. It's like everything you're saying is like you're talking geometry and space, it like applied. I just think that's it's so funny when you're saying that. It's like which is a big lesson I want to pull that out. It's like there's so much in the learning by doing and the application, like teaching these things in the context of experiences. That's how you make it exciting. Like when I was telling one of my friends this, Lavelle, we were talking about when we take the kids to Costa Rica, and, Lavelle's a medical doctor and we all have all this science education. But I tell him, I was like, man, it's a difference. They were going to, he was taking his family to, what's out there in Phoenix, past Phoenix, the Grand Canyon. They were going to the Grand Canyon. And I was telling them how we went. And I was like, it's those experiences when you're there, when we take our students to Costa Rica and they're walking in the rainforest, is different than reading in a textbook of like about a rainforest. So it's like experiences, the learning by doing. Always just elevates.
Feeling, you can smelling.
It brings in all those other senses that are actually part of the learning experience in such a deeper way. You said something about relationships. Let's talk about that for a minute. Being a professional, I know you've had clients who were there who went to my baby shower, right? who you still are your clients to this day. Can you talk about the importance of relationship building and social capital, building your network, and that sort of thing. I'm just curious what you have to say about that.
So with building relationship is so important. That's with any business. And you got to take time to listen. You got to listen to people. And I was blessed with a very professional clientele just starting off with teachers, doctors, superintendents, principals, people that were in education. So you got to know how to read people too, and you got to show up to win. You got to show up with that professional. I'm just as professional as you. I went through training. I know what I'm doing. I'm not just a woman in the kitchen, So the respect was earned because of my knowledge and how I showed up. I showed up to win every day. I showed up with who I wanted to draw, who I want my clientele to be, in order to have a successful, sustainable business. I knew that I had to show up every day to win. And that's something also my parents taught me. Certain things, be on time. When you show up, be clean. Hair in order, shoes in order, your whole attire, show up to win. So then the relationship, I started drawing people like me, right? I started drawing people that was kind of like a no nonsense and let's get it done kind of mentality. Your environment was clean. My area was, and still today, is my office. It's my business where I work, that space. When you come in, I want you to come in. I want you to feel the love. I want you to know that you're important. You're important to me. So that means I had to listen. I had to learn their family, who their family was, when their birthday was, and them traveling, their marriages. I heard a lot of things I really didn't want to hear, but you listen. And then you don't share that information. That's between you and that client, and you don't share it with others. I went through a whole lot of different situations where I was uncomfortable, but they share because they trust you. So it's a trust factor in there. And then you continue to learn and grow as an individual too. But you listen to people. If they bring their book out and they got their book in front of them, or they're working on a project, that's not a good time for me to start talking to them. Let them have their time and their space. And one of the clients said, you're really good at reading people because you got to know and respect their space, even though they're coming into an environment, and the music, making sure the music it's professional and the whole vibe is professional to create the space where they feel safe coming in and they feel safe as an individual about their space, not violating that space. If they come in and they got a lot going on, a lot of projects, a lot of deadlines, I got to give them that time because this is their time. And it's a sanctuary too. And they come in and the connection is at the shampoo bowl. That's where you really connect with the people. And you listen, not just with your ears, but you listen with your heart, and you go in and you give them whatever they need. And so many professional women are so tight, especially in the shoulders and head, that they need that. This is their time to relax and take care of them and love on them. And you keep working on building and to be the best you can be. That's all you can be. And my mom taught me that. You be the best person that you can be. You give them your best. And when you've done that, that's all you can do. And then people value that. People value that you showing up early. I have clients that come all the way from past Lake St. Louis, come in to get their hair done. I have people that travel and move to another state, New York, California, Chicago, and they still come in. Why they come in? Because of the relationship. And I honor that. And people need to know that you care. And not so much what you do, that you say, but what you do, how you treat them as an individual, and how you show up for them and how you there for them.
Yeah.
But then I also learned you can't carry everybody's stuff. You got to be able to dump that off too. So, and constantly learning to make myself better, education, esthetician, licensed instructor, being able to give back now. I found that was important. All this knowledge you have, now you got to be able to give back to the next generation. And I know I left from talking about
no. That was good, because I think especially a lot of our listeners who run internship programs or apprenticeship programs, the stuff you just called out is speaking to the professionalism when somebody gives you the opportunity of like how you are showing up. So I appreciate you saying the things you called out, like, well, how did I build a strong book of business with this level of repeat customer? Is, well, we leading with empathy. I have concern for them, professionalism, on time. How I present myself is going to attract other professionals. So I think these are all great lessons. These are all great lessons. And I can personally say, I know from, that you instilled in my sister.
Remember when y'all started with the car wash business?
Yeah. I don't know. That's funny. You want to share, because I think this also interesting. People get to learn a little deeper level of like, how does Sylvester become Sylvester? You want to, because you would have me as a kid. I tell people this, like, as a kid, you would have me in the salon growing up, 5 years old. I'm answering the phone or walking women to their car, or opening the door for them when they come in. So I don't know. You have any good stories or something you want to share?
Yeah, that's why I say this can go on part 1, 2, 3. Because yes, good stories. Yeah, you were very young, and it was important for me to make sure that you had certain skills.
Like what? What skills? What was important?
Skills to be able to look people in the eye and communicate with people, and to have the confidence to know I'm Sylvester Chisholm, and this is how I'm showing up. I'm showing up to win. And so you will give people eye contact. And hi, I'm Sylvester Chisholm. Hello, this is Professional Touch Salon. How can I help you? Take names and numbers. And then when they will come in, you look at them. How you doing? Hi, how you doing, Miss Mason? Oh, I'm doing great today, Sylvester. How are you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. What are you doing in school? And you be able to share. You didn't feel intimidated because they may have been a principal or a teacher, and you treated them with respect. Can I take your coat? You want a soda? We used to have a soda machine and some snacks. And then for as the entrepreneur part, I taught you, you like to go skating. They had saints, and you like to do this and you like to do that with your friends. Well, that costs something, So look, while we're at Sam's, let's buy you some candy bars, and you can sell these candy bars, even though you can make double. Okay, let's make this work. So you start learning those skills, and you start learning discipline with cars. You used to make model car, and you learn how to paint, and that was detailed. You learn how to put them together from a box, and you took hours to perfect that, and that was working a skill in you to be a leader, to be able to lead and get things done. You started a project. It was a lot of little pieces, and you put it together. And after you put it together, you took time and you had these different size paint brushes. And that was very important to you, the detail. And you was like, Mom, it got to be a very pointed brush. And I was like, can you just get one brush fit all? And you was like, no, it don't fit like that. And I was like, you about to drive me crazy. We would have to go to Target to get you some paint brushes. And so you had to be able to also generate some money coming in to buy some of these things that you needed to buy for yourself. So just teaching you skills, laundry, and how to organize your room, how to be organized, how to have a system in place. And a lot of times, if there's no system in place, you're disorganized. Even in your brain, there should be a system. in place. I have a system. I know how I'm going to address the client. I know how I'm going to take care of the client. I know what I'm going to listen to the client, find out what their needs is. And the same thing with you guys, you and Shay, and finding out what you love to do and respecting that in your space. And you both were artists. And I kept your art because you're so creative. And that was important to me. And it was important to put it on the refrigerator so you can see that I value what you did. You know, I value your artwork. I value your cars. I still have your table sitting over there that you used to paint on. I don't even know if you know that, but that's your table that you took time and you were so detailed and you had to get it perfect. And then when you started with the car wash business, you took some of that training from the car wash business that you had with detailing and painting. And then you got a little brush when you detail that you make sure all the little all the dust and everything is out. You had certain brushes for the air conditioner. Detail. And then so I taught you guys your branding is important. Okay, you came in the shop. Yeah, I used to work out in football, arms all built up and like that. And I was like, the woman be like, no. You got to put on a shirt. You go get you some T-shirts that say Showroom Shine, your brand, and then you come in here and you have some khakis or something. Y'all look alike. Don't come in here like that. And man, and the ladies were just like, are they coming in today? And they were he amongst themselves. I said, these are kids. Okay, this is a criminal case, what y'all doing. And y'all, and I said, when you talk to clients, you look at them and know what you're gonna have your numbers together, know what you want to make off of each call.
Yeah.
And you guys came up with your whole menu and the whole bid, and then your confidence kept building. And then one day you was outside washing a car and it was lightning and storming and you had the electric, you had my electric you was using, extension cord from the inside all the way out. And Arthur came in to tell me, Mom, Sylvester gonna get us electrocuted trying to make this money. I'm scared out here. And I went out there. I said, boy, if you don't get in here, it was pouring down rain and lightning. And you said, we're trying to finish up this car so we can get paid. I said, okay, well, done. You're done. But you were still trying to make it perfect. But anyhow, those kind of things to see Showroom Shine become through the relationships that I had built with my clients, that they trust you guys with all those high-end cars. It's not because of they trusted, it was the relationship I had built. So you guys benefit from the relationship that was built through the salon.
No, that's big, Mom, that you just said that. That's I forgot about that story, man. That's funny. Salute to Art.
My God,
we went on that entrepreneurial journey as high school kids getting started. Yep, well, in the back of the hair salon with a water hose, a bucket, and a drink. And here we are today. But I think that's a good story. I like how you just said that with the salon, that the trust came from, they supported us because from you. That's a big thing we talk about now, which I want to make a bigger conversation, honestly, this year is around that social capital. That's how most jobs. I had a guy on Jason Van Noos, and he was saying that there was a study that showed like about 70% of jobs come from a relationship. It's not you just going to apply. It's my friend is hiring. Let me introduce you to my friend, kind of thing. Or like, I know this person over here at this company, or now I'm in charge over here at this company. Why don't you interview with me or have your son call up to get the internship? Things like that. It's a lot of that. And that's so important, so important to for all our leaders and educators to think about how we can build more social capital for our students. Some people have it based on their places of worship, their neighborhoods, their their parents, friends, family members. But for those who don't have it, that social capital is is a big factor along with those skills. They all work together. I want to ask you a little bit, just touch on the cosmetology industry. Like, what do you see for the future? I know you're at the hair shows, the biggest hair shows across the world, across the country, working with Farouk. Some of your friends are the best hairstylists in the world. What are you seeing for the future of the cosmetology industry, like opportunities for people who may be entering into the field?
A good question. What do I see and how everything is a full circle? And I learned that waves like the finger waves were really big when I started. And then the jerry curls were big, and everything is evolution. It just kind of repeats itself, but it goes into a whole different flair. It may not be so structured, maybe more of a free flowing, but the foundation, the basic foundation still stays the same. But wanted to share, when I started out, we started out with these curlers called Provenal curls and the press and comb. And now these two tools have been innovated by a flat iron, a flat tool, ceramic tool that has now taken the place of the whole industry or as time-wise.
So that's ceramic. So now it's the heat is through ceramic.
It's through a ceramic, a moist heat now.
Yeah, and that's safer for the hair.
And it's safer for the hair. It leaves the hair silkier, stronger, condition the hair all in one. And then we have another tool now. I don't have it here. It blow dries, and it dries the hair and straightens the hair at the same time, and leaves the hair even silkier. I used it on my hair this past weekend. That's how I dried my hair. What happens is the time is cut. Time is a factor now. So people want to be able to get in and get out and still have quality hair, quality services. The wigs that they're wearing now, they're doing a lot of pressing, make it straight. They're going back here for the wigs, but time is a factor. People want to get in and get out and still have healthy hair. Whereas when I first started, people would be in the salon for 3-4 hours. People want to cut that down to 2 hours or 1 hour because lifestyle has changed. And what I heard is, for AI, will that be able to replace? When you have a hands-on for what we do, from what my studies, from what I've heard, is that we won't be able to be replaced, but there are machines to make it better. Like she has a color factory that produce over 40,000 color formulation, which means I don't have to think about it. I could just go and put it in the machine. In this machine, and it's going to formulate for me your color. And what you're going to look in a picture of you, what it's going to look like on you blonde, what it's going to look like on you brown, what it's going to look like on you fire red, what it's going to look like in the natural state, a natural color. So there are systems now put in place to make our job easier. And so therefore, you don't have to guesstimate. You can know exactly, and that client can be able to pick and say, oh, I want to look like her. I like that better. And it can maybe this for the
and
summer,
instead of them maybe bringing an image from a magazine or something, you can show them like, oh no, this is what your hair, this is you and what it would look like with these different colors, kind of with some of the technology and AI being infused that's happening. That's interesting.
So more innovation, and that's why I like working with Chi, because I constantly learn and I constantly grow. It's a profession that you cannot get bored. If you get bored, something wrong with you. You're not learning. So this profession is good for people that are very creative, that love people, because you got to be able to work with people, and you want to keep learning, and it doesn't get boring, it doesn't get stale. So for artists, it's just a win-win. So.
And then there's also the the engineering side of it, working on the tools, coming up with the tools, or the science side of it. I know you have friends with their own products and, you know, conditioners and shampoos for fine hair and this and that, you know, curly hair or you know, different. I feel like there's a lot more opportunity now even to do stuff like that as well, right?
Exactly. And drying the hair. So, and then also it's so important drying with our chi dryers. We dry the hair from within and not just from the outside, but you're drying the hair from within, and it breaks down the water molecules, you know, so the hair is more silkier and stronger. So you're conditioning at the same time that you're doing another service, that you're drying the hair. So all of that plays in synergy in what products you're using, even before you get to the shampoo bowl. So the whole process, what products are you using? And then also it's important what they're eating. You know, what are you consuming in your body on a day-to-day basis? What's going on? What's the chemical imbalance that's going on? Sometimes it's more to it than just that. It's something maybe going on, especially with women, you know. What's going on? Is it the thyroid? Is it too much yeast in the body? And you learn that as you go, and then you learn what products to use to counteract, or is there a product that you can use, or do you recommend dermatologists? And that comes through time and experience and constantly growing as an individual. So you never stop growing, you know.
I wanted to ask you something as you just kind of went into, you know, the hair and the nutrition and a little medical. I know something that's important to you is your project you're working on now with supporting women who are like cancer patients, with supporting them with with wigs to help them with, you know, still keep their confidence up. Can you tell me a little bit about, you know, what you're working on with Gibson wigs?
Yes. You know, this is so important to me. Thanks for bringing this up, because hair, I mean, it's easy to work with women that come in with healthy hair, or you can repair. But what do you do, and how do you reach that client who's lost their hair and going through a very challenging time, or have a disease like lupus that attacks, you know, your hair? And for me, it's so personal, because my mom, she had cancer, and she died of cancer, and I didn't know how to and what to do with a situation like that, because I've always worked with people with hair. So now, how do I find what her needs is? I mean, I massage and rub her scalp and put oil, but then how do I give her something to make her feel good? Find an installation and prosthesis to make her feel good about herself again, you know. So we did manage to find a couple of wigs, but I wasn't real strong at that. So this is very passionate. This is very on my heart, to be able to service women that have lost her, or going through her challenging time, or health challenging time, to be able to, you want people to feel good, look good. And this is very dear to my heart. So I'm now working with Gibson Wigs to be able to work with that man or woman that's going through a very challenging time and need their confidence. We first started, I talked about confidence a lot, and that means a lot to me. So for me to be able to,
the hair is important. Touch. Right. To helping. I know you, that was one of the things that stood out. I was like, I never thought about it like that. But like for that woman who's like, man, you've had this beautiful hair all this time in your life, and then now you're going through this, working through this experience, through this challenge. You said you were offering like custom lengths, custom colors, custom cuts, like so they can make it, customize it to how they want it, right?
Yes, and not too bulky, not too heavy, but light, something that they can be comfortable in, because your skin is very sensitive at that point, you know, when you're going through either radiation or your chemo. So making sure that it's comfortable for them and it's styled appropriate where it's not wiggy, but it looks natural and it complements them in their lifestyle. So that's where we're headed now for Gibson wigs. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be able to, when they come in, they may feel one way, but when they leave out, they feel really good about who they are as a person. And that's really important.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. When you were telling me that, I was really impressed by that. You've always had that heart for giving back. And then, the way you connected it to your own mom's story as it is personal. So, I know it's personal to you, personal. To help
just like now
bring that confidence out.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy duty. So, and then be able to, even if women can't afford it, still be able to take care of them, period, Yeah. And that's at the end of the day, we want to make sure every woman or man feel good about, and children, because a lot of children have to deal with alopecia. They're born without, hair, eyebrows and hair and where we take a lot of it for granted, your eyebrows, and you take your hair for granted. But so many children are born without hair, and making sure that we can meet those needs as well. So it's important that a kid have the confidence, as I said, going back to what my mother instilled in me. So to be able to help the children as well. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. My last question for you, Mom, because you're right, we could talk for 2, 3, 4 hours on all different stuff. So I really have enjoyed this, but this is a question I ask all of my guests. What's your vision for the future of career in tech education?
What's my vision for
the future of career in tech education?
Okay. For my vision for all of the stylists, barbers, esthetician coming behind me is to make sure that you know where you're going. And then you want to know how you're going to get there. And you just can't not have a vision for yourself. That's important. So you want to take time with yourself to know who you are and why am I doing this? Is this something I'm going to do for life? Do I just want to go in and stand behind the chair? Or do I want to go in and have multiple locations? Or do I want to go in and be an esthetician? Or do I want to go in and be a barber? Because they do really well as well. But it's all under the one field, really. So you got to know, it's so many areas to go. Do I want to be a makeup artist? So you got to know what's in your heart and where you want to go, where you see yourself. You may not see yourself standing behind a chair, but you need to know that. You need to know where you're going so you can be as successful and know what it takes to get there and take time and do your necessary research, what it's going to take, how much it's going to cost. You can't build anything without knowing what the cost is. So and that may not just financially, but your time, and knowing how to go in strong and be committed to that and know the time. What I find is a lot of young people nowadays, they don't want to spend the time that it takes to get there. They want it to happen like now. Well, it takes time to build anything, building a business, and allowing yourself 3 to 5 years to build a solid business is very possible. Yeah. It's very possible. But just so knowing where you're going and how you're going to get there, what tools are you going to need along the way to get you to there, wherever there is for you, it's possible. And having the support and learning to work with other people. I'm now affiliated with an organization called Gateway Hair Innovators. And we are here to be able to help students coming in, educating them, help coaching them, help directing them, supporting them along the way to be better and lead this industry and leaving a legacy in better shape than when we came in. And that's my total goal.
I like that.
That's my total goal. And so that's where I can see where the industry is going, to make sure you got leaders to help and pull somebody else up.
Yeah, I think I like how you kind of took a holistic approach on that answer of like what people can do individually to take time to get some clarity on where it is that you want to be, your vision for who you want to become. And then those who are in the spaces, in the industries, to support with mentorship and guidance and advice and introductions. Building more community around that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's only going to make things better. Ma, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. If someone wants to learn more about the work you are doing, we'll send them to your website, or where do you want to send them?
Sure, send them to the website.
Okay, all right. So they can find more information about the work you're doing at ptsalonstl.com, ptsalonstl.com, and they can connect with you there. Mom, thank you so much. This is
you're welcome.
This is more than what I expected.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing all these wonderful stories. Had me laughing, and I think good information. So we'll have to probably do this again, Mom.
Because you and your sister are so creative in so many ways, and you just gifted, and with the art and then the driven, the business. You eat it, you sleep it, you talk it, you turn it over. You just entrepreneur to the heart, and your sister. So, and I always taught you how important it is to teach and be able to, you write the check for the employees, and I don't know if you ever had a job. Did you ever have a job? You had a job.
I mean, in college. I think I worked at Banana Republic. And,
right.
But that's nothing really as an adult. I fully have been self-employed. But look, like they say, I get it from my mama. So look, I get it honest. So thank you, Mom, for joining. This was a wonderful episode. Definitely deeply personal to me. Thank you to the audience for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, don't be selfish. Share it with a friend or a colleague who needs to hear some of this wisdom that was shared here today by Darlene Gibson. And until the next episode, remember, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Global CTE Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to be the first to know about future episodes.